Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Yuki back here on my channel again, and today I have another deck profile for you guys. Sorry if I'm not being like as loud or as vocal as I normally am. I am currently tired, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording this video. But essentially, yeah, I'm coming back with you guys with another deck profile. So right now, I'm just recording two deck profiles. Both not for the same video, but I'm gonna use this clip for both videos. One deck profile right here. This one is actually, both of these are some of my favorite decks of all time. One is actually using like one of my favorite engines. Well, not engines because it's really not an engine, but one of my favorite decks of all time, probably is my favorite deck of all time, is Shaddoll's. Like, I love Shaddoll's. Shaddoll's is like easily by far my favorite deck of all time. I remember it came back out in 2014. That was back when I was like in what, 11th grade in no, 10th grade. Yeah, 10th grade in high school. Came out when I was in 10th grade in high school. It was one of the best decks of all time in my opinion. Like when it first came out initially, like it was by far the best flip summoning deck of all time, the best in terms of like the fusion monsters. Like during that time, it was by far the best deck of all time. Like it's not even close of how dominant that deck was in terms of like how good it was. I wouldn't say it's like as dominant as Tier Limit or even like current Castera is, or even maybe Dragon Ruler, Spellbook format. Those probably were a little bit more dominant, but Shaddoll's is up there as one of the GOAT decks of all time. But this build that I'm actually showing you is pretty much a budget build. I wouldn't say it's very competitive. Like, I wouldn't say, because Shaddoll's currently aren't in a really good state when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh right now. It's more of a rogue strategy, but I'm mixing it up with the branded engine just to give you guys like a little idea of what it is, and also just to guys let you know this isn't a full powered branded build along with Shaddoll, because I kind of want newer Yu-Gi-Oh players to actually get the gist of how to play this particular deck, just for the simple fact that, like I said, the branded engine currently right now kind of expensive, because obviously you need Cartesia, you need Quim, you need Despatter, you need Gangiel isn't that bad either. Neither is Sanctifier Dragon, but a lot of the branded engine is very expensive. I'm also gonna have I also have some really good tech cards in this deck as well that I can show you guys, just to pretty much give you a gist of like everything that you can actually do with it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay guys, just to give you a quick rundown. So with the Shaddoll package, I'm running 3 Windy, I'm running 1 Aerial, 1 Beast, then I have 3 Shaddoll Fusion, and then I have the 1 Schism. So this is the basic rundown of the Shaddoll package. So this one right here, honestly, is the best Shaddoll monster for the main deck, in my opinion. It allows you to, when it's flip faced up, it allows you to either special summon one in face up or face down defense position. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Shaddoll monster face down in defense position as well. Typically, like, this thing's like specialty is special summoning. That's clearly what this Shaddoll monster does. You have Aerial right here. So Aerial, when it's flip faced up, you can essentially target a banished Shaddoll monster. Like if a Shaddoll monster was banished by, was sent from the graveyard to your banish zone, you can actually take one of those and put it in face down defense position. Or one thing that I like about Aerial as well is that it's good with graveyard interruption or graveyard interaction. So if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can banish 3 cards from any graveyard, up to 3 cards from any graveyard. So let's say, for example, if your opponent is playing a graveyard reliant deck, you can banish cards in their graveyard, so that way if any interaction happens, that you're able to deal with that. And Beast essentially is just draw cards. So it's a To explain it, it's like dollar store. To put it in the context, it's dollar store. It's essentially dollar store graceful charity. That's the right word. Dollar store graceful charity, or it's dollar store um a dollar store upstart goblin. Except obviously your opponent doesn't gain life points from it. And then Shaddoll fusion. So it allows you to fusion summon Shaddoll monsters. If your opponent controls monsters, you can actually use the fusion requirements from your deck instead. You don't have to actually physically have it in your hand. And then Schism allows you to banish monsters in your graveyard to special summon Shaddoll monsters, which honestly is a really good card, and is one of the best Shaddoll cards or Shaddoll support cards ever printed. It's essentially just you, like I said, obviously you get to banish those monsters from your graveyard to special summon Shaddoll monsters. But the thing with it is obviously you can't attack directly, but in the long run of Yu-Gi-Oh games, that kind of doesn't matter. In terms of beating your opponent down, we have other ways that we can beat our opponent down in this deck. Okay, and then here comes the meat and potatoes of the deck. So this is pretty much the branded engine. Branded, like for the most part, most of the branded cards aren't that expensive. But like I said, if you want to play like hyper competitively branded or add hyperly competitive branded to this deck, you honestly can. But like I said, some of the extra deck monsters for branded currently, and then obviously Cartesia and Quim, they are really expensive. Like I'm not gonna lie to you right now. Like I think Cartesia right now at the lowest might be $40, and then I think each copy of Quim is maybe like 30 at the current moment in time. As you already know, my idea of a card being budget is if it's at least if it's a really good card, like a really great card, like some of the other cards that I play in this deck, then I would say budget might be bare minimum like anywhere between $10 per copy of the card. So or even going up to like 15 maybe at max. But right here, I played the two Albaz. Hold on, let me get a little bit more room because it's more of a brand. It's a lot of the branded engine. I played two Albaz. I played the one Incredible Ecclesia. Then obviously we have Pretty Boy himself. We have 3 copies of Aliber. Then we have the one Dramaturge Despia. I almost called him Dogmatic Maxis, but if you know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! And know the Fallen Albaz lore, you would know that's Dogmatic Maxis, essentially Maximus. Then I have the one Despian Tragedy, the Ad Lithium of Despia. Then obviously I have the Mercurier, and then 3 branded Fusion, the 3 branded Opening, and then last but not least, we have the one branded in red. So this essentially, so I'm just gonna go based off of the cards. I'm not gonna go by pretty much any and everything. But obviously, if this card is used for any fusion summon, whether it's banished or in your graveyard, you can actually special summon it to your side of the field. This one is either a super poly target for your extra deck monsters, or obviously you send this to the graveyard to go into your extra deck summons off of your branded fusion. Branded Fusion is the best fusion card ever printed. I'm telling you, it is the best fusion card ever printed, because what it allows you to do, it allows you to send monsters from the deck to the graveyard in order to fusion summon. And anytime that we know sending monsters to the deck to fusion, sending monsters from the deck to the graveyard to fusion summon is absolutely broken. Look at Predaplant vs. Anaconda. That card's not even allowed to be played anymore. That's the essential gist of branded fusion. Now, obviously, this is a hand trap to negate certain things. Then Tragedy allows us to, when it's sent to the graveyard, allows us to get, let's say, for example, Aliber. We can send this to the graveyard and we can get a copy of Aliber. Aliber allows us to add any branded spell or trap from our deck to our hand. Ecclesia. I use Ecclesia also because there's a monster in our extra deck that's a synchro monster that you guys are probably going to look at me crazy for, but I'm going to show you guys a way how you can actually bring that card out. just the gist of it, I actually think the card is actually pretty good. Um, that I'm going to show you, because obviously it's a tuner. Then also, if your opponent controls more monsters on the side of the field than you can special summon this. You can activate her effect. So typically, this card is either used in Sword or Branded. So special summon, and then I'll bring out a copy of Oliver so I can do my super poly thing with it. Ad Lithium is a really good card. I know a lot of people have been cutting out Ad Lithium, but I think Ad Lithium is a good thing because once that card is banished off of a fusion summon, you get or it's used for fusion material, you get to actually special summon one of your banished level 8 or higher monsters in your banish zone. So this is good for reoccurring those fusion monsters that you might need. Branded Opening just allows me to special summon Aliber. Aliber is by far your best card in the deck. And then what's really good about this card is that if my opponent tries to clear my board and I have nothing but fusion monsters on the board, I can banish this from my graveyard to stop them from actually clearing my board and destroying all of my fusion monsters. And then this just allows us to add one of these cards back to our hand, either Albaz or Oliver Tragedy, any of those cards from our graveyard, and then we use them for a fusion summon to banish. Typically, you would use this card or that card to actually banish, or even Ad Lithium as well. Those are the 3 cards that you would want to typically banish when you are fusion summoning from your deck. So yeah, so that's the gist of the branded package. But obviously, we still have more cards in the Albaz lore that we do use in this deck. Like I said before, like this is somewhat of a budget build, but like I said, if you can't play these cards in your deck because like the next cards that I'm going to show you, because they are slightly a little bit more than what people would typically expect, then that's perfectly fine. You can cut this out, but I just want to show you guys more parts of the deck that I actually use. Okay, and for the monsters that I was telling you about that, like I said, obviously in the Albaz lore as well, that I typically do play that are probably a little bit more pricey are going to be the Bestials. I play 3 Magnum Hut, 3 Judas Worm, and then I also play Serenir. So this one's the one that's going to be the one that's a little bit more, because I'm going to be completely honest. If you look on TCG Player right now, I think these guys are about $9 per copy, which honestly is a really, really good steal right now, because typically, I remember at their highest price point, these were like, I think 30 bucks. These were about 15, and then these never actually hit over like $5. This one, I think currently right now is maybe like $1. These, I think currently right now, maybe anywhere between $3 to $5 a copy for these guys. But these are the ones that are typically the ones that are going to be higher up on the end. So essentially, with what you do, these cards allow you to banish any light or dark monster in either graveyard. So it doesn't matter what graveyard you banish the light or dark monster from, you can do it. And if your opponent controls a monster, these effects become quick effects. So this one allows you to send a spell or trap to the graveyard when it leaves the field. This one just, when it's special summon, it allows you to add towards the end phase, gonna allow you to add another bestial monster to your hand, which you'll typically go into this. And then once this one leaves the field, you can actually it's not a destruction effect, it's a non-targeting effect as well. You can send one card from your opponent's field to the graveyard, and it's non-targeting. So this is actually really good, like when it comes to that. Like these are just good for graveyard interruptions. And obviously, currently right now, obviously, well, most of Yu-Gi-Oh! Light and dark monsters are being prevalent. Typically are the ones that are always the best. Light and dark monsters historically have always been the best when it comes to monsters. And I know you guys are probably like, where's Lubellion? Where's Lubellion? Where's Lubellion? Where's Lubellion? Where's Branded Beast? Where's Branded Branded Bandage? Where's all these cards at? Look, Branded and Lost. Like, look. Calm down. Like I said, it's a budget build. And honestly, like I said, I want the Shaddoll cards to shine more in this deck. I don't want this deck to be heavily carried by the Branded engine, okay? So yeah, so I do also play Bestials in this. Honestly, I really do those because like at least that gives some sort of hand trap. Technically they are hand traps, So that's really the only reason why I play those those 7 cards in this deck. And then just to go, just a quick rundown of these other 2 cards before I get into the rest of the main deck. So I also play a copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon. I also play a copy of Dark Magician. You do not want to see either of these cards in your opening hand whatsoever, because they're bricks. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's a reason why we're playing these 2 cards in the deck. I mean, it's a clear reason why, but essentially, Red Eyes, Dark Magician. What do they make? Red Eyes, Dark Dragoon. I was just like leaving in like for people to think of like what it makes, but typically we run this because of Dragoons. Dragoons right now is at its lowest price point ever, which is really good because that card at one point was $100. Well, actually, bare minimum was like 140. No, at most it was 140 $40. But currently, right now, Dragoons is like 15 a copy, which is actually fairly good for a card that powerful. So yeah, so for the extra cards in this deck that typically we just have, we have the 3 fusion deployment. We also have the 1 foolish burial, 2 super poly, and I only play 2 ash in this build. Typically, I would always like you will want to run 3 ash, but I feel like with the deck it gets cluttered and cluttered and clogged up. So I only run 2 ash. Ash obviously is good at stopping certain things when it comes to like branded fusion. It's good at stopping branded fusion as well. So if my opponent wants to add something to their hand from the deck, if they want to send something to the graveyard, or was it special summon from deck, it just stops it. It literally just stops it. I think I said special summon from the deck twice, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, like it just stops a lot of things. Super poly, say if my opponent has something on the board, let's say for example they have a dark monster and I have a Shaddoll monster on my field, that's a free window. Light monster, free construct. Fusion deployment just allows me to reveal something from my extra deck in order to summon the monster like that listed as material to my side of the field. But let you know, this locks you into fusion monsters for the rest of the turn. And then Foolish Burial, typically, I'm gonna be completely honest, what I usually send off a Foolish Burial is going to be either the Tragedy or I'm gonna be completely honest, Red Eyes. I send Red Eyes off of a Foolish Burial, and if you know, you know. That's actually a really good thing because if I go into Lubellion, then that play allows me to actually send, like I said, go into Lubellion. I have both Dark Magician and Red Eyes in my graveyard, and I fusion summon with those. Dragoons becomes a really busted boss monster. So going into the extra deck, my fusion monsters for Shaddoll, I got my Construct, I got my 2 Winda, and then I have the 1 Abcalon. I've never been good at saying her name. I'm being completely honest, but she's the one that looks like the Gishki monster. But essentially, what this one does, obviously, you need a Shaddoll monster and at least a dark monster. Essentially, when you put her on the board, you can only special summon once per turn. So it's a floodgate. I think Winda is easy to deal with. But sometimes she's not. Like Winda literally stops people's whole entire turns. Construct, this is my favorite card like of all time. Like I told you, Shaddoll is like my favorite archetype. This is my favorite card of all time. Essentially, anytime she battles a special summon or once per turn she battles a special summon monster, she can pop it. It also allows you to send, when on fusion summon, allows you to send any Shaddoll monster to the graveyard. Typically when that happens, like I would send either one of these two just in case. So let's say for example my opponent has grit stuff in their graveyard, I like to send this. If I need a draw, I send this as well. And then This one on summon, it negates a monster's effect for the whole duration when that monster's on the field. And then also this card is no, not unaffected. It can't be destroyed by battle. So let's say for example, I can just summon it like this. My opponent, they have no way of actually clearing it off the field. They can't destroy it by battle. Like, it's just gonna sit there. So those are the Shaddoll monsters that I play in this deck. And then right here, I played the 2 Albion, I played the 1 Lubellion, the 2 Mirror Jade, and then I played the Masquerain, and then I played the Despian Quietus. So right here is the branded package for the extra deck. This allows you to banish cards to fusion summon. This allows you to use cards from the grave to send cards back from your banished pile or your graveyard to send back to the deck to fusion summon a monster. This right here is one of the best boss monsters ever printed. So when this thing leaves your field to the graveyard, it literally blows up your opponent's entire field. Once every other turn, you can banish a card, banish a monster from your opponent's field. That could give you. All you have to do is just send one card from the graveyard that lets fall in the Albaz as it. This one tags dragon, so every time your opponent activates a card effect, they lose 600 life points. Like I said, you can actually play two of these in your deck. Essentially, that would be like, if you can actually cheat out 2 at the same time, that's 1200 damage every time they activate a card. And then Quietus essentially, I think it's a monster negate when it's summoned, right? I think so. Like, I don't know. I typically don't use Quietus as much like as I used to. But I do know for the fact that its effect, it allows you to if it's non-fusion monsters, like, you can literally just make their attack go 0 for that turn. And pretty much in this deck, you play fusion monsters, so your fusion monsters are unaffected by that effect. So any monster that's not a fusion monster on the field loses all of its attack. And that's where the OTK aspect of this comes in. So yeah, that's gonna be the branded monsters. And then let me get to the rest of the main deck is right here. I mean the extra deck right here. I said main deck, I'm deceased. Then here in the extra deck, the rest of the monsters I obviously have is Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I have the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Cyber/Harpy Lady was the card that I told you was the tech. And then I have Cross Sheep. And that's going to round out the rest of my extra deck. So essentially, Cross Sheep, what its effect does is that whatever you special summon to, like if it's Ritual, Exceed, Synchro, or Ritual, Synchro, Fusion. I'm really trying to think about an extra deck mechanics. Like, that's how far Yu-Gi-Oh has come. But typically, what you're 9 times out of 10, when you special summon a fusion monster, you get to special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard to your side of the field, which can actually get you into more plays. That's typically what this thing is used for, is to do that once per turn for me. Then Cyber/, whenever a spell or trap effect is activated, you can actually bounce a monster from your opponent's bounce a monster back to your opponent's hand. So that's actually a really good thing, and it's actually fair. This card is actually really easy to bring out in this deck. Like I told you, I can actually show you test hands to where you can actually bring this card out. And then Starving Venom. So Starving Venom does, if it's destroyed by card effect, it destroys your opponent's monsters on the field. If it's sent to the graveyard by destruction, that's what it does. And then another thing that it does as well is that literally you can target 1 monster on your opponent's field, and this card gains not only the attack of your monster, so you're adding on to it, but it also gains that monster's effect. And then Dragoons, easily best boss monster ever printed. Well, not best boss monster ever printed, but because it is kind of flawed. Like, it's easy to actually cheat out. It can't be destroyed by card effects. And you can't obviously target this with card effects either. Each turn, like when you do a negate, this thing can gain permanent 1000 attack. And then if this card is I'm trying to explain it right. So if this card was fusion summoned with both Dark Magician, and Red Eyes. Literally, you get two negates, like two free Omni negates. And if it was a monster and you destroy that, literally your opponent takes the damage from that monster. Like, don't tell me that's not broken. Like, that's an anime-esque card. Like, they literally made a card where Red Eyes and Dark Magician fused together, and it actually became a really broken card. So that's the extra deck. So to get onto the side deck, let me actually show you guys in a second what the side deck actually is gonna look like. Okay, so putting my extra deck over here. So just to show you the side deck of what I actually run in the side deck: Effect Veiler, Dark Hole. I run the 3 Dark Ruler No More, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Evenly Matched, and then I run 2 of the Kaijus, and then obviously I run 1 Baguska just in case. So typically Baguska is just there to stop monster effects. So what it does is switches every monster in defense position. But the problem with that is, well, it's not really a problem, but the thing with that is that when every monster is in defense position, they can't activate their effects on the field. Baguska is the only one that can activate their effect. So not only do every monster get switched to defense position, you literally can't even use their effects. Unless it's a link monster, their effects are null and void. Like, you can't use them. Dark Ruler No More is just a card. It negates all monster effects that are on the field. So, and monsters cannot interact with this card at all. So this card is actually really, really good. Harpy's Feather Duster is just to destroy my opponent's back row. Like, if they have any spells or traps in their back row, it's just to destroy it. Evenly Matched is to essentially clear the whole entire board. Dark Hole, so if my opponent gives me an Ibly, I can literally just Dark Hole and destroy all the monsters on the field. Effect Veiler only activates on your opponent. You can only use this on your opponent's turn and during the main phase on top of that. But it essentially is just a free monster negate. And then the Kaijus is for if my opponent has a very difficult boss monster to deal with, literally I just drop the Kaiju on them. So I give them that so I can get rid of that boss monster. And then if I have this in my hand as well, I can special summon one to my side of the field as well. Typically, that's what the Kaijus are used for. And that was just the extra deck. So now let me actually go into test hands for you guys. Okay, just to give you a general sense of, let's say for example, if you don't open up with certain engine pieces, this hand doesn't look the greatest, but it's actually really good. So right here, I have an Ad Lithum, I have Foolish Burial, Bestial Druisworm, Fallen Albest, and I also have the Branded Opening in my hand. So right now, what you could actually do is activate Foolish Burial. So Foolish Burial, like I said, what this card is, and there's a reason why this card is at 1. For people who actually don't know like much about Yu-Gi-Oh, it essentially allows you to send 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard. And while that sounds like, why would you want to send a monster from your deck to your graveyard? That is a really big thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a lot of your monsters have graveyard effects. The graveyard is essentially a second hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! So typically I'm going to search my deck to send Tragedy. At this current point in juncture, it would be best for me to actually send Tragedy to my graveyard. And so what Tragedy is going to do is going to allow me to add 1 Despia monster from my deck to my hand because of the fact that I did send it to the graveyard. I can actually add 1 Despia monster from my hand. I already have a way to actually access Aliber in my hand. So as crazy as this may sound, I'm gonna add the Dramaturge. Dramaturge is a really, 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 really good card. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna shuffle my deck back, shuffle my deck, go back. Always remember, just for new Yu-Gi-Oh players as well, always after you search your deck, you have to shuffle. That's the rule. That's always been a rule because clearly that's just the thing, because obviously if you search your deck, you already know what's going to be there. So right now what I can do is I can activate the Branded Opening. What Branded Opening is going to allow me to do is search my deck to special summon 1 Despia monster. And typically what I'm going to do, I'm going to summon Aliber. Aliber goes out in defense position. So so it allowed me to do that. So Aliber effect will allow me to add 1 branded spell from my deck to my hand. So typically what I'm going to add off of that is going to be the Branded Fusion. You always grab the Branded Fusion if you don't have it in your hand. If not, you can grab Branded in red. Like if you don't, you can add Branded in red. You can add, let's say if I was playing Plebellion, I would add Branded Beast. This is typically what you'll add. So after that, this goes to your graveyard again. So then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the Branded Fusion. The Branded Fusion, so when this card also activates, you can only special summon fusion monsters for the rest of the turn as well. So Branded Fusion is going to allow me to fusion summon by sending one Fallen Albaz and a monster for material. So what I'll do is I'll send Fallen Albaz. And then what I'm also going to do, crazy enough, I'm going to send Shaddoll-Beast. So what that's going to allow me to do is actually what this does is actually let me go out into Mr. Lubellion right here. So I'll go out into Lubellion. Let's me summon Lubellion right there. And then what I can do is I can also draw a card because of Shaddoll-Beast's effect. And that gives me a copy of Fusion Deployment. So I have Fusion Deployment right here. And then I also have, this is what my hand will look like. So you can actually do a little bit more follow-up as well too. So you can either do two things from right here with Lubellion. You can use Lubellion's effect. So what Lubellion's effect does, it allows you to pitch a card from your hand. So what I'll do, I'll pitch the Ad Libitum. So you'll pitch a card from your hand. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fusion summon using monsters in your graveyard to send back to your deck, in order to fusion summon from your extra deck. So there's two monsters that you can actually go out into. So right here, obviously, I have options. So I can either go out into, let's say, for example, a fusion. I can go out into Masquerain or Ad Libitum, or right here, I can go out into using this. I can go out into Ice. I can go out into Mirror Jade, or what I like to do, since like I said, we are playing a Shaddoll build. Typically, you can also go out into Winter because you have Shaddoll-Beast in your graveyard. But since we only run the one copy of Lubellion, it's best to actually go out into a Mirror Jade. So we'll go out into Mirror Jade, send this back to the extra deck, and then we're going to send Albaz back to our deck and shuffle again. So that doesn't seem like the best combo with the Branded, but typically that's how a Branded combo works. And obviously our board isn't as full as it would normally be. So we're going to shuffle again. And then what we can do is we can banish one of the dark monsters in our graveyard. So what I'm typically going to do is I'm going to banish the Shaddoll-Beast, even though we could, because eventually we could reoccur this now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to special summon Druisworm. So that gives me another follow-up as well. So this is what your first turn board will be if you were going first. But let's say, for example, if we were going second, obviously it would be a little bit easier. But typically, this is what a first turn board will look like for this particular part of the Branded deck. We did use a bit of our Shaddoll engine, but I'm going to show you, obviously, I think 2 more test hands that I can actually get you down, like with a little bit more of a Shaddoll engine. And then I'll also show you how you can actually cheat out a Synchro monster and cheat out Dragoons as well. So this one right here, I'm going to show you if I was going more so of going second. So obviously, going second, I get to also get a draw. So my hand right now, typically, in my opinion, doesn't look the best because I don't like this hand. To me, this hand is nasty. But let's say if my opponent controls a special summon monster from the extra deck. So it doesn't matter if like you control any monsters or not. If they control a special summon monster from the extra deck, when typically 9 times out of 10, your opponent after their first turn is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Shaddoll Fusion. So with Shaddoll Fusion, instead of me using monsters from my hand, I can use monsters from my deck to actually do the fusion summon. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pitch Incredible Ecclesia because technically it is my only light monster in my deck. So I can actually cheat it out So actually, yeah, I was gonna say yeah, and then where is it? Where is it? Shaddoll Beast. So I pitched those two, and then obviously Shaddoll Beast is gonna allow me to draw a card after my shuffle. So I can shuffle this, I can draw my card, and then what I can do is actually special summon from my deck a construct. So I actually can special out a construct from my deck, and then I actually got the one extra draw, which honestly, this is a way better. There's a way better outcome for me now. See, look. So then, let's say if my opponent has a light or dark monster in their graveyard, I can literally banish that, special summon Druid's Worm, and if they have another one, banish that, and then I can special out Serenade as well. And then typically, what I would do from here, because I have options, like I literally have options. So fusion deployment, bam. Fusion deployment, what is it gonna do? I can't do nothing but fusion summon for the rest of the turn, but guess what? It's gonna let me cheat out. Let me see. Then what you'll do, you'll obviously reveal any monster that listed it as material. So I'll literally show them Rebellion. So that way it can literally allow me to special summon one Fallen Albaz from my deck. So right now what I'll do is I'll special summon Albaz. Let's say my opponent is controlling a dark monster. Let's say they're controlling Dark World Grapha for whatever reason. Let's say they're controlling Grapha. So what I'll do is I'll special summon Albaz. So Albaz, let's say they control Grapha. I can literally fusion that off with it. And then, like I said, I'm locked into nothing but fusion monsters for the rest of the turn. So I can go out into a Rebellion. So Rebellion effect activates. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send cards from my back from my graveyard back into my deck. So typically I'm going to choose the Incredible Ecclesia, and I'm going to choose scratch that. So what I'm gonna choose, I'm going to choose Albaz, and yeah, I'm gonna choose. Oh wait, I'm gonna choose Albaz, and I'm also gonna choose the Shaddoll Beast. Shuffle those back into my deck, and then I'm going to go out into a window. So at this point, as you can tell, my board is kind of cracked. It is really, really cracked. My board is full of a good bit of things. So obviously, right now, what I have in hand, I obviously have these right here. So then what I can do, use Branded Opening. And then this is probably going to be my last special summon of the turn, because window, like I said, you can only special summon once per turn. And because like I already have the window on the field, that'll be it. So then I can still get my Oliver, and then I can still get my Branded Fusion right here. I can still get my Branded Fusion. And then obviously with a board like this, what much can your opponent do to actually break this if they don't have any way of interacting with it or having any interactions as well? So pass turn over. So let's say for example they pass turn over, and let's say it's my go again. Oh well, my turn, I can just activate Branded Fusion. Send from the deck to the graveyard. So what I can do is, let's say for example, I can send this Rebellion, and then I can send a Fallen Albaz. Let's say I'm gonna send a Fallen Albaz right here. Let's send a Fallen Albaz. Where's Albaz? Where's Albaz? Get an Albaz right there. So I got the Albaz right there. Shuffle my deck again. I really feel like I'm just going through everything like right here, right now. So obviously I got my Albaz. Then what I can do is I can go out into Albion, the Branded Dragon. So now at this point right here, what Albion would allow me to do is banish cards to actually fusion summon from the deck. So I'm trying to think of what I can actually do right here. I can actually banish these two. And guess what? After banishing those two, I can go out into, hold on a second. After banishing those two, I can literally go out into, let's say I wanted to go out into Quiritus. Quiritus is a good card for me to go out to at that point. So like I said, it actually does pretty much a lot. Like that card actually does a lot that you can do with. yeah, and then it's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot that you can actually do with this. I keep reiterating that I can do a lot with this, or yes, there's a good bit of things that you can actually do with this. This point, like I said, foolish. There's other plays that you could do. So let's say, for example, if let's say I just foolished. Let's say I'm foolish, and then let's say before, like after I had fusion summoned, let's say before I had fusion summoned off into let's say before I fusion summoned off, let's say if I still had this board right here, I drew into foolish after my turn, could have foolish, activated foolish to actually send a monster from my deck to the graveyard. And let's say I just wanted to send Dark Magician. You send Dark Magician as well. Then, like I said, activated that branded fusion. Fusion summoned off. Fusion summoned off with the Outbash to the graveyard. Then, like I said, went into this right here. And then guess what? I can use that effect. Banish this card. I can banish this card. And since this is a dragon, I can banish this guy as well. And go out into the Unstoppable. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And like I said, that's something that's typically going to be a really annoying card to deal with in the long run. So, yeah, and I'm sorry, guys. And I know this part is very anticlimactic, but this is the last thing I'm going to show you guys in the video. If you guys are wondering how the way that I told you that you can typically cheat out the Cyber / Harpy's Lady, essentially, obviously, but essentially, if you have Incredible Ecclesia on the field and on the level 4 monster, or just if it equals up, you just cheat it out. That's pretty much how I typically cheat it out. But as you can tell, like the boards that we build here, like Branded is such a very diverse deck that you can pretty much do anything with Branded. I just gotta say that I honestly hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I think this deck profile is actually a little bit better than the last one, because I'm not like as nervous like trying to record it, but at the same time it's like I'm still trying to get used to it, you know. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, I highly suggest that you like the video, subscribe to my channel, interact in the comments with me, like if there's any feedback that you guys want to give me, and then yeah, share the video. Like if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, Yu-Gi-Oh fiend, if you're just a fiend in general, just share the video. Like seriously. As again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it's been your boy Yuki, and we're out here. So peace. You